There's a ton of reasons that people choose to homeschool their kids, and today my guest is going to share what made their family of four pack up everything, move into an RV, and travel across the country and do just that. I'm Jacob Gooden, and this is the Ex-Homeschoolers Club, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing up a homeschool kid. If you're new here, welcome. Glad it's your first time. And if you're returning, hey, how's it going? Welcome back. So glad to see you. Before I bring my guest in, I've got a favor to ask. If you have not signed up for our email newsletter, I would highly appreciate it if you did. I send out every 2 weeks when these episodes come out a newsletter just with things about the episode, a little bit more of a deeper dive, as well as some resources, books I'm reading, things I'm watching, stuff that I find interesting. So if that's interesting to you, top link in the description, in the show notes, is going to be to the newsletter. And with that, let's get into our episode. All right, Kayla, welcome to the Ex-Homeschoolers Club. I'm so pumped for you to be here. Normally I talk with ex-homeschoolers. Today I'm talking with like a current homeschool mom. But welcome to the Ex-Homeschoolers Club. I'm going to give you an honorary pass here.
Hi, thank you. It's great to be here.
So tell me a little bit about how you got into homeschooling. We talked before about you guys having some issues with more of the public and traditional school settings, but kind of give us your story of like what led you down the path of homeschooling and why basically.
Yes, so our journey started even before my son was in school. So he was in preschool and was getting in a lot of trouble. He had an issue with fighting, and that is an absolutely not acceptable thing in daycares or any school setting. And he would always be in a fight or flight mode. So if he was getting in trouble or he wasn't getting something done, he would either run or fight his way out of it. And that started I want to say he was about 3 or 4 years old when we started really having some issues. And we took him to several different daycares. One of the daycares we took him to, he got into a fight, was biting. He was put into the principal's office. He spent hours in the principal's office. Um, when I went to pick him up, he was still in the principal's office. He was by himself. There was nobody there. He was bawling his eyes out. He just had a handful of Legos to play with, and that was it. And I found the principal. I asked her what was going on. She was like, nobody has been in here. I don't know why he's crying. She said my son had said one of the teachers had grabbed his face and it scared him. Like, well, this is absolutely unacceptable. Like, you can't be doing that. So they kicked us out of the school. We had to find and this was preschool. So we had to find a new preschool. Within 2 weeks, he was in trouble for biting again, was kicked out of that school. And he didn't understand what was going on. He was very concerned about, why do these teachers not like me? Why am I not allowed to go back to the school? Mom, what did I do wrong? Like, he did not understand what was going on. We had him tested to see if he was on the spectrum, but because he was only 4 years old, he was too young and they couldn't determine whether or not he was on the spectrum or not. So went to another daycare, still getting into trouble, still unable to, like, the punishments that they have are, you can't go on field trips. You got to be in the
Right.
corner. You got to go to the office. Like, so he just felt very alone and didn't understand why. We get him into kindergarten at the public school, same thing. He's alone. He's getting in trouble. He's in the principal's office. I mean, kindergartner getting suspended from school. Um, so the summer between, let me back up. By the time we got to kindergarten, um, I had been talking to a friend who had said, maybe get him on an IEP. Maybe that'll help. So we did that. We tried everything. Like, so we got him on the IEP. We went through and talked to all the teachers, the principal. We were in the rooms talking to them all the time, trying to get this figured out to help him the best that we could. And by the summer, going from kindergarten into first grade, he was so depressed and he had overheard me talking to my husband about an incident that happened at the in town where somebody had fallen asleep in their car, and summers are hot, windows up. The person actually passed away from being in their car. My son overheard me talking about this to my husband, and my son told the daycare teachers that he was going to sit on the bus and just stay there until it got too hot for him. And hearing that from the daycare teachers are the one that told me that. I'm a nurse by trade, and I know from schooling that if you have somebody who is talking about suicide, the first thing you need to ask them is, do they have a plan? Because if they have a plan, that means they're serious. They're not just willy-nilly talking about it or
Right.
bringing it up as a joke. So I asked him, I'm like, honey, what's going on? Like, are you serious? Like, do you have a plan? And he said, and this breaks my heart. He said to me, yes, I'm going to stab myself in the stomach.
Ugh.
And I said, baby, you know that's going to hurt really bad. And he said, I know, but then this will all be over soon and it'll end quickly. And that's when I knew he needed some serious help. Like, he didn't understand why he was always getting in trouble. He didn't understand why the teachers didn't like him. He didn't understand any of it.
Right.
We took him to a counselor who decided he needed to immediately be admitted. And he spent a week in the hospital in behavioral health trying to figure out what's going on. He was diagnosed with disruptive mood dysregulation disorder and ADHD. And he did have a hard time being in the hospital setting. We were told he was throwing chairs, and he struggled there too. But when he was sent home from the hospital, they didn't send him home with a psychiatrist. They just gave us medications and said, good luck. Like, okay. And the medication that they gave us was not, he struggled with it. Like, he went very lethargic immediately.
Uh,
So we called the hospital. They're like, sorry, you need to find a psychiatrist. Well, they're all booked out. We
yeah.
couldn't find one right away. So we had to go to his family care provider until we could get into a psychiatrist, which was months later. So it was about January of his first grade year. And he was upset with school. And like I said, he goes into the fight or flight modes, and he decided to run away from school. And they had to send the police out to go get him. We called his psychiatrist. The psychiatrist had him admitted again. And this kind of behavior continued on. We kept trying everything, meeting with the IEPs, still dealing with suspension, still dealing with just all of the behavior issues. So fast forwarding into, he went into an intermediate school. He was in the 5th grade. And at this point, he's 11 years old. And there's not as much tolerance for behavioral issues.
Right.
And he's still having the same issues. And we were told when he left the elementary school that if he doesn't figure this out, there's going to be some serious repercussions. And we saw that within his 5th grade year. He got into a fight, and the parents of the child that he was fighting with decided they wanted to press charges against him. And he was suspended from school. So we got a lawyer. We're going to fight the charges. I mean, he's only 11. We didn't want him to already have a record. And we made the decision to put him in a school for autistic children. Even though he doesn't have the diagnosis of autism, we decided that that was probably what was going on, and that was the best route to go. While he was in the school for autistic children, he did what he has been known to do, and he got into another fight. At this point, a teacher's aide said that she was in fear of the other child's life because he had put that child in the headlock. So he, from there, was arrested and taken to Lutheran Social Services, where we had to have a custody hearing in order to get him back into our care. And we had a 6-month long legal battle to fight not only the charges that were on him that the parent of the child had pressed on him before, but now we also had felony assault charges because of he put a child in a chokehold. And that is a very serious offense. After 6 months of the legal battles, he was deemed unfit to stand trial due to his age and his diagnoses. And at that point, we had hit our breaking point. Like, we just could not keep going down this path. It was obviously not working for him. It wasn't working for us. We're spending thousands of dollars in legal fees. We have tried everything, doctors, hospital. We didn't know what else to do. So we just decided to sell our house, move into an RV, and start homeschooling. And initially, it was just going to be an 8-month long reset, and it worked, and things got better. We've been doing this for 3 years now.
Wow. Well, firstly, that it's a heavy story, but I thank you for sharing. And well,
Absolutely.
I'm glad it's nice when things have a happier ending. And it seems like things have turned around, and that's good. And we're going to talk about more about that. So, leading up to that, had you considered homeschooling before just selling everything and moving into an RV, or were
No,
you really no, you were like,
no,
we're gonna just find a school that works at some point, and that's gonna be the route.
I don't know anything about homeschooling. I didn't want to relearn all of that. I had no
Yeah.
idea what I was doing. So, but I mean, we had hit our breaking point. It was like, all right, well, we're gonna figure it out.
So that first kind of year of doing it, what like I come from a homeschool family where my mom very much built our curriculum. She chose every little piece. I think the first couple years she maybe had like, hey, I'm just gonna pick a curriculum brand, and pull everything that they have, right? Um, but how like tell me a little bit about that because you how old are your kids now?
My son is now 15 and my daughter's 9.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, and you're still in it, so it's very much like things have changed. I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I was homeschooled back in I graduated in 2014, um, and things like that. So how easy was it to find your first set of curriculum where you're like, okay, I'm going from like I have no clue what I'm doing when it comes to the homeschool world to like, okay, we're rocking and rolling. We've got the first set of stuff, even if it's not working. You're like, okay, I at least got curriculum on the table that I can use.
Yeah, so I went to Amazon
Okay.
and I just went to find some workbooks
Mhm.
that were appropriate, and I was just winging it. My mistake that I made that first year was trying to mimic how the school system sets up their curriculum. So I had it set up where we were getting up at this time. We are going to do this class at this time, and we're going to try and get through this many pages until this time. And then we're going to switch and go to this topic. And then we're going to switch and go to this topic. And these books, they did not come with a teacher aid with it. So I'm trying to go through my son's fractions. Like, I don't know. We have to look this up. Like,
Yeah, you had the workbook, but you didn't have the teacher guide to go with it.
I just had an answer key.
Yeah, you were like, I don't know the steps between.
Yeah, like I don't know how they got there.
No, I feel I relate to the kind of mimicking the public school system because I started homeschooling when I was in second grade. I was 8 years old, and my mom kind of did that too. She kind of was like, okay, we're gonna do the very like we're gonna be up at 7 a.m. and we're gonna be at the table by 8 a.m. and we're gonna do math for 30 minutes and get this much done, and then we're gonna do this for 30 minutes, and then this is an hour, and all these different things. And she had this grand plan in her head. And within, I don't know, maybe a week or two, that whole plan just got thrown out the window. She was just like, none of this is working. Um, we were all frustrated at each other. We were pissed off. I had already gone to public school, so I just wanted to be back with my friends.
Mhm.
But it was definitely, it's definitely a learning curve, right? At the beginning where you're just like, okay, like this isn't working. So as things weren't working, what what's going through your head? Are you like, how are you solving this problem now that you've created again for yourself where you're like, okay, now nothing is working still?
So, traveling around the country, I actually went to go and pick up an Amazon box. And, when you're traveling, it's not going to be delivered to my house. I don't have a
Right.
house anymore. So I have to go to a station to go pick up my Amazon. And while I was there, I was just chit chatting with the guy. It was like a Wednesday in the middle of the day. He's like, "Why is your kid not in school?" "Oh, well, I'm homeschooling." And he started telling me, "Oh, I homeschooled my kid for so long. This is the issues that we had." And we just got into a conversation, and he's like, "We used this online program and it was really great and it really helped my kiddo." I'm like, I didn't even know that existed. So then I started researching it. I'm like, what are these online schools look like? What is there that's out there for them? What is available to me? How much does it cost? And I found a program that I really thought looked interesting. And we started with a couple of different ones that were free first. And the kids really enjoyed that a lot more than the workbooks. So we started with a hybrid of the workbooks and a free online program. And my kids really gravitated towards the online because it was more animated, it was easier to follow. So then that following year, we're like, okay, we're going all in on an online program. And it really worked and it really helped. And even with my son being in high school now, the program that they have is more interesting. And the way they present it is more entertaining. So he'll actually sit down now and knock his schoolwork out. He doesn't need to ask me about any of it because if he
Right.
has any problems, he could rewind it. He can rewatch it. There are more options for him to help him get through it. And then same with my daughter. If they have problems, they do still come and ask me, and I will help them as much as I can. And if they don't understand something, they do have that option of redoing it. So if
Right.
like they failed it, okay, you failed it, you didn't understand it, just do it again. No
Yeah.
big deal. Versus in the school system where you fail it, you failed.
Right.
Like,
Right. We're already on to the next thing. Yeah. At that
yeah.
point. Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's one of the things that like my math program was on DVDs. And yeah, I would sit there with the remote and I'd be like, I don't understand. Like you talked about fractions. Fractions was hard for me too. I like would sit there and rewind and rewatch and rewind and rewatch. And yeah, I think my parents very much believed in the learning style of like learn to understanding, right? Like you're
Mhm.
just gonna do it over and over and over again until you get it. And if you got to do it a couple different ways, you'll do it a couple different ways. But like you're gonna get there, and it's important that you understand this, especially things like fractions, right? That's something we kind of use,
Yeah.
maybe not in our everyday lives, but we use that a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot of things like that where it's just like, you know, it actually is much more valuable to do, like you were saying, the repetitive over and over and over, go back, rewind, have mom as a tutor is helpful where it's like, Mom, I
Yeah.
really just don't understand this lesson. Okay, well let's look at it together and let me see if I can explain it a different way. I can imagine with the internet, it's I mean, I still ask the internet a bunch of questions about stuff I don't know. So I'm sure that getting the answers you need is way easier now than it was back then. Because even if you don't understand a lesson, I'm sure you can find a YouTube video of somebody explaining it a
Mhm.
different way that makes a lot more sense.
And that's one of the things that we try to teach too is instead of that memorization and being able to word vomit all of the information, being able to figure out how to find the answers,
Right.
which I think that's important. If you don't know how to find the answers, that makes things even harder, especially as an adult.
Yeah.
You can't memorize everything.
When I got to college, my one of my professors, my first semester, was like, in this class, you are going to become expert Googlers, and you're going to know how to do everything. And that was sure enough. By the end of it, we knew how to find anything we wanted on the internet. If we needed to get in contact with somebody, we could find their email. We could, anything you wanted to know about that person, we could pretty much find it. We knew how to internet stalk, which probably is not
Yeah.
the greatest thing in the world, but we knew how to find a lot of information, and it was important. We got the answers we wanted. I was gonna ask too, with being on the road, and you know, there's a couple of the families that I've talked to who have done the RV homeschool life. They do this cool thing where they pair what they're learning with places they're going on the road. Could be Gettysburg, could be you know anywhere in the country, sometimes anywhere in the world. Have you guys done anything like that where you focused in on, hey, we know we're going to go to this area, let's learn some of the history there, or do you use the RV experience as more of like, hey, we're going to learn a bunch of stuff when we get there?
More on the second side. We're just going to learn a bunch of stuff when we get there. And then it does correlate with things
Right.
that they're learning later on. So we have done, when we went out to the East Coast, we did Paul Revere's Midnight Ride, and we went to Lexington, we went to Concord, we did go to Gettysburg. And when my daughter did eventually get into those lessons in her history class, she was able to uh, relearn
Mhm.
all of that. So she had seen it before, and she's like, Mom, I'm learning about Lexington and Concord. And I've been recording all of our travels and things we do, and I've been putting them up on YouTube. So when we got to that lesson in her schooling, she was able to pull up the YouTube video, recall the memory of what happened, and go, oh, yeah, I remember that.
That's awesome. I love that because like I'm also like Revolutionary War history is so interesting to me, and that
Mhm.
was my one of my biggest areas of study. And so, in more recent years, doing a lot more East Coast travel and like seeing these places. Like I went to Boston last year for the second time, and I was just like, "Oh, this chapel was that, and this street is important because of this reason," and all of those things kind of came flooded back because that pairing the knowledge that you have with like an actual task or a
Mhm.
place or something is just like it really locks it in. I've come to realize it just really locks it in the brain where you're like, okay, I've got this now. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's amazing. I wanted to ask, going back to your son a little bit and kind of some of the mood things and the ADHD and I know it's undiagnosed but potential autism in there and things like that. How have you guys learned to navigate that? Because the things like mood swings and getting in fights and some of the things that trigger those responses. How have you guys learned to like manage those and maybe come out of some of the awful things that happened when you were in the public school system?
A lot of it is just communication and us sitting and talking about it. He has learned to communicate with us better. I will say he is a teenager now, so now I have that. But he has not been in a single fight, and he's around kids all the
Mhm.
time. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's a misconception of us being in an RV and moving around like, oh, you don't see any kids anymore. Your kids aren't socialized. No, he's around kids all the time. He's got plenty of friends, and he has not been in a single fight. He hasn't had any of those issues. Um, if he's frustrated with school or just needs a break, for example, like right now, he's out fishing. He just needed a break, so he went fishing. That's his happy place. That's where he goes if he needs some time to himself. And being out in nature and doing some sort of calming activity has been extremely beneficial for him.
Yeah, going outside, just touching grass,
Mhm.
as like as simple as that sounds, it truly is one of like the most calming things in the world because like getting back in touch with nature and we all kind of come from dust to some degree,
Yeah.
you know. We're all made up of the same stuff. And so that's awesome and it's cool too. I don't know if you guys are a part of any of these, but I have heard about there are some RV groups that are like homeschool groups, right? That kind of meet and maybe don't travel together, but there are homeschool RV meetups across the country, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of families that will meet up. In fact, where I'm at right now, I'm at Fireflies Hills in Kentucky, and they have a lot of programs where they'll bring in different RVers. We just recently had a Halloween. It was a 2 week long Halloween bash, and one of the things that they focused on was the Day of the Dead. So we got to learn about the Mexican culture and incorporate world schooling for all of the homeschooling kiddos out here. And they get to meet other kids who are doing the same things that they're doing, which is
Yeah,
great. And it was a whole good learning experience for all the kids.
that's awesome. Yeah, Firefly Hills is super cool. I haven't had a chance to
Mhm.
go, but Yeah, but actually, little selfish plug. The podcast Inspired Travels with Patty. I edit for that show, and we actually just had, as of recording this, it just came out today. This episode's going to come out a little bit later, but as of today, go check it out. Inspired Travels with Patty. We had the owner. I'm blanking on Tanya.
Tanya.
Yes, Tanya was on the podcast talking a little bit about that and some of the other things that she does. But Firefly Hills looks amazing. I'm hopefully we'll get there someday. I'm in Tennessee. I'm not that far. Only a handful of hours.
There's a lot of things to do out here. We're in the Red River Gorge. If you've got kids, this is a kid heaven out here.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Go check out their website because they have like a fairy garden and they've got all kinds of
Yep.
really cool, unique stuff that is like very um it's just super cool and unique. Very, very different from most places I've seen. I wanted to ask too so you've done the RV life thing for 3 years now, right? Is that
Yes.
what we said? 3 years.
Yep.
And so have you guys found a favorite spot that you like to go that is that memorable thing? And maybe it's just yours. But I'm sure everybody's kind of got their own opinion on it. But do you have a favorite spot that you guys have hit up?
Yes, and it really just depends on which person in our family you ask, because we all have a different
Right.
favorite. My son, for example, so we've hit all 50 states. That was kind of our mission in the 3 years. We wanted to go to all 50. We made it. We've been to all 50. My son's favorite spot is Hawaii. He really enjoyed boogie boarding in Maui. My daughter loved Alaska. My husband, I don't remember which one was his favorite, but mine is Utah, Southern Utah.
Okay.
I really like Hurricane Utah is probably one of my favorite places.
Okay. Yeah. I love Utah. I grew up in California and so been to Utah a few times and it's beautiful. It's one of those.
Mhm.
Every state is so unique and it's awesome
It
that you guys
is.
have hit all 50. That's incredible. That's an amazing feat. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
One of the things that I think is great about homeschooling is the ability to individualize the schooling to what your kids need. And you have two kids. I'm very sure they're very different. I have a sister. Our schooling was very different. We both had different challenges in school and things like that. And that was one of the things that, like I talked about at the beginning, my mom at the beginning tried to mimic the public school system where it was very much the same for both of us even though we were in separate grades, but it was very similar structure throughout the day. And by the time I was graduating, we were like on completely different wavelengths. Just the way that we did math, the way we did science, everything was just vastly different and a lot of times different curriculums, different learning styles. There was a period where I was a night owl and I was just like, I'm going to work all night and sleep till 10 or 11 in the morning, kind of a thing. And so, how have you seen that play out like with your kids and what kind of adjustments have you had to make to accommodate those?
Honestly, my kids are the exact same way. Like, and it just kind of varies. Like sometimes my kids will want to do their schoolwork at night, or they'll want to do it first thing in the morning. It just depends on what they've got going on in that day. Uh, yeah, they have different learning styles. My son, for example, he learns better if he's listening to music. So I will allow him to have earbuds in and listen to music while he's learning because that helps soothe him.
Right.
My daughter, not so much. She needs it silent.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's huge. Music is I'm kind of with your son. A lot of times I'll put it on the TV. I'll put like lo-fi or classical music or something on the TV. Um, and yeah, there's a lot of studies around what it does to the brain and how it activates certain parts of the brain to learn. But there are other times, like your daughter, I'm that way too. I'm like, gotta put on my noise canceling headphones. I want the
Yeah.
world to be utterly silent. Don't talk to me. Don't mess with me. Um, yeah, that's very cool. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, this is something that you and I talked a little bit about when we had our first kind of our pre-interview, if you will. But you had mentioned that you have a very strong, and you kind of brought it up on this interview too, but um, you love the reconnection with nature, and you see that as being super beneficial for your family and your kids. And so I'm interested, like, if someone is feeling disconnected, what are your recommendations, or or do you have some favorite things that you're like, this is how I reconnect with nature, and it's kind of a recentering is the way I view it, of like
Mhm.
yourself. So anything in that vein?
Just getting outside. It is so important to get out there. We tend to spend our lives in a box inside fluorescent lights. Where I worked as a nurse, we didn't even have windows. I didn't know what it looked like outside. I didn't know if it was raining. I didn't know if the sun was out. I never knew what was going on. I was just in a room all day long under fluorescent lights. And that's a lot of like office work, same thing. School, same thing. You are in your seat, locked in your box, fluorescent lights. You're not getting any of that vitamin D from the sun. You're not getting that wind. You're not feeling nature at all. And there's a lot of studies out there that show that we are all vitamin D deficient because we're not getting enough natural sunlight. There are lots of studies that show that being outside and being in nature helps calm our nervous systems and relaxes us and makes us feel better. So that's why I started my blog, is to give people some of those studies and help people reconnect with nature. So you can find me at Wandering Past Limits, where I talk about how nature not only has affected my son and helping him calm his nervous system. Like I said, he's out fishing right now,
Right.
getting that fresh air, uh, because, he gets ramped up. He goes outside, he comes back a whole new person. He
Hmm.
feels better when he gets back. And we all need that. We all need to get outside and calm our nervous systems.
Yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, shout out to your blog, Wandering Past Limits. Link is going to be in the description, or it's popping up on the screen if you're watching this. Is that also like social handles and stuff, also Wandering Past
Yep.
Limits? But yeah,
Yep.
go to the website. I'm sure it links out to everything uh,
Yeah.
necessary there as well. That's the great thing about websites. They're kind of the hub for everything. Um, I agree with you on the nature thing. I think it it has changed. I got locked into, like, COVID really locked me in the house, and I became a hermit, and I
Yeah.
just really I didn't want to go outside, didn't want to see other people, didn't want to do anything. And in more recent years, I try to go for a walk most days. I try to go outside a little bit. I sit near a window now, so I'm getting some sunlight, things like that. But yeah, going outside and just like enjoying and breathing fresh air and like touching the ground and getting dirty is
Yeah.
like amazing. It really does. It's weird. It's like a drug. It really resets you.
Mhm.
It's yeah. So highly encourage it if you're watching this.
Go
When we're done,
outside.
yeah, when we're done, go outside, go touch some
Yeah.
grass, go experience the outside, and yeah, and report back on how it made you feel. Well, Kayla, is there anything I haven't hit on that we need to talk about when it comes to homeschooling, when it comes to being on the road, when it comes to resetting our nervous systems? Is there anything I haven't touched on yet?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. And I'm glad that you guys have worked and figured out, some things that work for your family. And that's the beauty about homeschooling, right? Is that it's finding the thing that works for you, and providing the best education for your kiddo. And that's something, as an ex-homeschooler, that's the thing I try to encourage current homeschool families and people who are thinking about it to do, is like, what does your kid need, and let's get them that, right? And how do we
Yes.
accomplish that? I have one last question before I let you go, and that is, if a family's coming to you and they're thinking about homeschooling, what are you how are you advising them? Where are you telling them to look? If they're coming to you and they're like, "Hey, we're thinking about this, little Johnny, little Debbie, they've got, whatever." Where what are you feeding them to first? What is kind of your go-to advice there?
Give yourself some grace. Give yourself time to figure out what works best for your family, because not everything is the same for every family. It takes time, and enjoy that journey. I know it's hard to say enjoy that journey. It's a rough journey, but enjoy the journey, getting there and finding what works best for your family. Sometimes those workbooks are what your kids need. They didn't work for us. We tried it. It didn't work. Sometimes those online schools, they're great and they help. Sometimes even that doesn't work. I know there's a lot of different options of unschooling is another big one where parents are just going out and letting the kids learn by going to places. And
Mhm.
that's how they're learning about it. So there's so many different options out there. Do your research and find out what works best for you.
And there's always communities. That's, I think, the other
Mhm.
thing is homeschooling tends to get lumped in this bubble of very antisocial, and the reality is there's actually a lot
Oh,
of us,
a
and there's a
lot.
lot of communities, and there's a lot of forums, and there's a lot of shows like this one. There's a lot of shows with current homeschool families, but there's always someone to reach out to, and you never know. Like you said, talking to the Amazon guy, and he was like, "I homeschooled my kids." You never know who you're gonna run into out in the wild. Open up that conversation, and yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, for sure. Well,
Yes,
Kayla,
there are a lot of places to go. I didn't know that either first starting, but there are a lot of communities.
oh yeah, no, yeah, I didn't. I grew up in a very big homeschool community, and I didn't really realize the number until I started doing these interviews and I started talking to people all over the country, and I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
they're everywhere. Excuse my language, but they're everywhere.
Yeah, they
Um,
are.
yeah, it really blew me away. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, oh, wow. Well, Kayla, this has been fun. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story and what has worked for your family. And again, I'm looking forward to checking in with you, every now and then and hearing where things are at and how things are going. So keep us up to date.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
Good, good. And to my ex homies, this has been the Ex Homeschoolers Club. Do all the things that you know how to do. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, share this with a friend that needs to hear it. And until we see ya, peace.